All right, and good morning, good afternoon, or maybe good evening, depending on when you are viewing this session. I greet you and I thank you for being here. My name is Oliver Blue, and I am your temporary guide, your temporary coach, your temporary helper, and I'm delighted to fulfill those roles, as well as I'm your permanent brother. I am your permanent self. And today is another great day that we take a giant step up the ladder of awakened consciousness, up the ladder of transformation as we transform our mind into into the mind which we call the mind of Christ. And so today we are going to be looking at workbook lesson 158. 158. And we'll go ahead and jump right in. So workbook lesson 158 out of A Course in Miracles states, "Today I learn to give as I receive." Today I learn to give as I receive. We have learned it here in lessons gone by that giving and receiving are not separate acts or separate events or separate transactions. But what we have learned here in one of the principles in the Course in Miracles is that giving and receiving are one and the same. They're like two sides of the same coins. And it is a principle that we must embrace if we are to maintain the consistency by which this course is founded. So that principle of giving and receiving being one act or one act of love is so central to the message and the themes that are inside of this course. And so the whole idea is that we are indeed connected. Or, let me put it to you this way. We are indeed sharing the same life with each other. There is not multiple lives as though it appear on the surface. But in reality, there's only one life. There's not multiple beings. There's only one being. Though it may appear on this plane that there are multiple beings. There's only one. This whole idea of A Course in Miracles is based and founded on the idea of oneness. And when we say oneness, to put it more plain, what we're saying is that in reality, the only thing that really exists is God. It's God and there's nothing else. God is all encompassing. God is everywhere present. And only God can create, because only God exists. And what God creates, He creates like unto Himself. And so we have accepted the idea that what God created, He called the I Am, or Christ, which is one like unto Himself. Not separate from Himself, but the same as Himself. And so in creation, the principle in creation in reality is that there's God and there's nothing else. So if we exist, and we know we do, wow, the one thing that we do know is that we exist, that we are conscious, that we are aware. That's why we say over and over again what I am conscious, I am aware. And we can go on to add I am God, because if God is the only thing that exists, then if we exist, we must exist as or in God. So if that be the case, what we give, what is given, what the concept of given or extension is extended to itself. So what we give to another, we're giving to ourselves. What we receive from another, we're receiving for ourselves. So giving and receiving is the same act of the one love. What you give, what you extend to others, you are actually extending them to yourself. What you would have for your brother or your sister, you will have for yourself. That is the law. That's the one law of God. There's only the law of oneness. There's only one of us. That's why in my introduction now, I say, I am your brother. I am you. Remember, we have transcended this idea of these separate selves, because there's an appearance of separate bodies, billions of them. But these bodies are not real or not reality. What is reality is what God creates. What is reality is God himself. And so when we embrace this all-encompassing reality, it makes everything else so simple, and it makes everything else so consistent, and it brings correction. It brings correction to the illusion that separation is real. Separation is not a God idea. Separation is an idea that appears to be outside of the one thing, which is God. And so if it's outside of the one thing that is God, according to the Course, it says it's not real and it does not exist. Only in a mind that believes in separation. And so today we learn to give as we have received. Why? Because that's the reality anyway. And so the lesson starts out in paragraph 1. It says, what has been given to us? What has been given to us? It's a question. And the answer to that is the knowledge that we are a mind. We're not a body. The knowledge that we are a mind in the mind of God, and purely mind. In other words, we are formless beings and we are timeless beings. That's what it's saying here. The knowledge that we are formless and timeless being. The knowledge that we are sinless forever. This is what's been given to us. The knowledge that we are wholly unafraid, because we were created out of love. This is what's been given to us, the knowledge of this. Nor have we left our source. The knowledge, the fact that we are every thought of God, and we have not left our source, which is God. Ideas leave not their source. We have been given the knowledge of this, that it's impossible for us to be separate from God. Why? Because we are a God idea, and ideas leave not their source, and God is the source. We are every thought of God. This is who we are. This is what's been given to us. The knowledge of this. It says, we have not left the source, remaining as we were created. We have the knowledge of this now. Maybe before we didn't start. Maybe before you started this journey of these workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles, you didn't have that knowledge. But we have it now. And this is the basis for which we move from lesson to lesson, build on this foundation, the knowledge that we are mind. We are in the mind of God. Sinless forever. Holy, completely unafraid. This is our real self, the real you. It says, because we were created out of love. We know this now. We said, nor have we left our source, which is God, remaining as we were created. This was given us as knowledge, which we cannot lose. It was given as well to every living thing. In other words, in the nature of all living things, there is an awareness of what we just shared, of this knowledge. It says, for by this knowledge only does all living things live. So this is the foundational truth that has been given unto us. Us who? All that God has created. Only God creates. Only God in love creates. In a dream of separation, there is this dreaming of making something, not creating something, but making something. The whole idea is something is made out of something else. So it's the whole world of the whole world of duality, the whole world of perception. That in that world, the creation that we're talking about here, the knowledge of creation that we're talking about here, that is not the law in that world. The laws of that world is based on what? Based on the erroneous idea of separation. And so, this is what has been given to us. So today we learn to give as we have received. So if this is what we have received through knowledge, this is what we ought to give. This is what we ought to extend. This is what we ought to share. And so it says, we have received all of this. We have received all of this. And it's through the knowledge. Paul, the Apostle Paul in the New Testament, on several occasions when he would greet the brotherhood, when he would write a letter to one of the established communities, he would always greet them with grace and peace be multiplied to you. This is what his greeting was, that grace and peace is multiplied to you, to humanity. It says through the knowledge. It comes through a knowing. It comes through a knowledge. A knowledge that's been what? That's been given. Given by who? By the source of all creation, which is God. So it is God that has built within all that he has created, all that which he has extended, just like himself. He is built within every living thing. The knowledge of what we just shared. And it is through this knowledge that all living things do live, including us. And so we have received all of this. No one who walks the world but has received this. No exception. This knowledge is within the nature of all humanity. Every human that had ever graced this earth had built within its nature this knowledge. Now, they may not have recognized it or may have got it covered up through conditioning. Whatever transpired to cause one to live from a different knowing, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it says here that no one who walked the world but has received it. That means that all 7.8 plus billion people on the planet right now, within every being, within the mind of every being, is this knowledge in their nature. And so he says, it is not this knowledge. It says, it is not this knowledge which we give, for that is what creation gave. So this was given within the process of creation. So it's not something that we make up to give. It's not something that we create to give, but it was given in creation. So it was given unto us, and we have received it. Every living thing has received it. It is the knowledge by which every living thing lives. You can't live without this knowledge. So whether you recognize it or not, what's important is the knowledge is there. And so, all this cannot be learned. All this cannot be learned. What then are we to learn to give today? What can we learn to give today is the question. Our lesson yesterday invoked a theme found early within the text of A Course in Miracles. And it says this theme is that experience cannot be shared directly with another. Knowledge can be shared. Vision can be shared. But experience cannot be shared directly with another. Why? That's a good question. The experience that you have is so unique. So unique to you. It could only happen to you in that way. So he's saying here that can't be shared directly. In other words, it can't be shared directly. He says the revelation, notice now, the revelation, and revelation has to do with what? Direct communication from source, direct communication from God. It goes directly. It's not learned. It's not taught, but it's a direct reveal. It says a revelation that the Father, this specific revelation, that the Father and the Son, or the Father and his creation. The Father and his creation. The Father and what he created, which was his Son, which is us. He said the Father and the Son are one, will come in time to every mind. The revelation that all of us will eventually have the experience of in our own way, in our own time. He said will come to every man in time. Everyone that has graced this world. as a mind. Within that, within their awareness and consciousness, the revelation of the Father and the Son are one and the same. That will eventually be an experience in everyone. And what he's saying is the experience is so unique that it can't be shared directly. How it happened, when it happened, and where it happened in your life can't be duplicated. It is so unique. It can't be shared directly. But what can be shared directly is what we will give today. So that's what it means when we don't give experience. But there is something that we do give, that which has been given to us through knowledge and through what? Through vision. It says experience cannot be shared directly in the way that vision can be, or the way that knowledge can be. It says the revelation that the Father and the Son are one will come in time. It will come in time to every mind. Yet is that time determined by the mind itself. It's not taught. So in other words, God is waiting on all of us to say yes to reality. God is waiting on every single solitary self, separated self, seemingly separated self, to open his mind for the great reveal that the Father and the Son are one. That is the great reveal. And that's the great reveal that Jesus came to what? Came to share with the world. I and my Father are one, making him equal with God. He went on to say that when you've seen me, you've actually seen the Father, because I and the Father are one. And so this great reveal is what every single solitary seeming separated being, separated mind, will come to and fully embrace this in their awareness and consciousness in their appointed time. It says here that it's determined by the mind itself, and it's not taught. It's not something that can be taught. This is a great reveal, the great revelation. Paul said it this way. He calls it a mystery. He said it was held back in time past. But now it's been made manifest or made reveal to all humanity, that Christ in you, or Christ as you, the hope of glory, that we are that oneness, we are that Christ, all humanity that God had reconciled. What seemed to be unreconciled, he made a correction to it. He reconciled all the world back to the one self. That is the great mystery. What's missing in any person's life that lacks peace is a revelation of that oneness. That you and God are one. You are inseparable. You're impregnable. There is no difference. There is no separation. There is no duality. In your essence, in your awareness that you exist, in your awareness that you are conscious and that you are aware. When the reveal, when the acceptance of that which is revealed, of the oneness of the Father and his creation, is revealed, is embraced, is experienced, is accepted. and it will happen to everyone. And everything in that moment, everything becomes aware of the one thing. It happened to every one of us. He says the time is set already. The time is already set that this is going to happen in everyone's life. It appears to be quite arbitrary. The set time seems to be arbitrary. He says, yet there is no step along the road that anyone takes but by chance. It's every step that we're taking. It's a step towards this great reveal. Every step that we take is a step towards the unveiling, the undoing. It's a step towards enlightenment, awakening, salvation, being born again, new birth. All these are just terms that point us to this great happening in everyone's life. It says, so no step is a chance step. No encounter is an encounter by chance. It has already been taken by him. Every step, this step has already been taken. It says, the revealed has already been revealed. It said, although he has not yet embarked on it. He might not be aware of it, but it's already happened. He says, for time but seems to go in one direction. We but undertake a journey that is over. So in time and space, it seemed like time only goes linear. And present, future, going in one direction. It doesn't go that way, it goes that way. That's what it seems like in time. It says, but we have undertook a journey that is already over. Because remember, time is an illusion. So in reality, there is no timeline. There is no beginning and end. That's all part of the illusion. So this holistic or holograph approach to seeing is what is needed to see that this is just one big, tremendous field of presence of God. It's like it's just one big day. It's like it's just one big reality. It's just like eternity. It's just in a continuous field of presence. And this thing about time, the clock, day and night, months, years, all that is within the dream of separation. But in reality, when we transcend that experience of an illusion and see all things as God sees it, it's just one big happening. And there's no one directional that like we walking on a road and things are ahead of us. No, reality is everything has already been done and completed. And so that's why it says you remain as you were created, as though nothing really happened. And nothing really happened. So what we're observing and seeing as this being attached to a body and time and space and history and all that we experience here in this dimensional world In reality, what? It's a done deal. It's a finished dream. We've all have awakened. So it's almost like God shows us the end and then he takes us back to the beginning and we walk through the journey. Time is like that, it appears that way. I gotta stop here. My wife is calling. I need to take this call. Okay, I do apologize. So, where are we? It says, it has already been taken by him, although he has not yet embarked upon it. For time but seems to go in one direction. But we undertake a journey, see, that is already over. We are undertaking a journey that's already over. Yet it seems to have a future still unknown to us. It seems that way. But that's not reality. Our journey is already a wrap. We're just like going in through the replay in slow motion. We're still in eternity. Heaven is still intact. We remain as God created us. We're still learning how to create like our Father. So we're being extended as these love childs, creating more and more and more and more. That's the reality of what's happening. But it's like we just took a break to come watch this movie called Separation. That's what it seems like. So it says time is a trick. See, time is a trick. We've already also have learned that it said that time and space is an illusion. It's not reality, and which is not a bad word. It says time is a trick. It's a sleight of hand. It's a vast illusion. It says it here again, in which figures come and go as if by magic. In other words, humanity have been visiting, coming to Earth, leaving the Earth, coming, leaving for thousands of years. And here it says that appearance of figures coming and going, if by magic. And he said it is a time. It said it's a trick. It's a sleight of hand. It's not reality. It says, yet there is a plan behind appearances that does not change. So there is an ultimate will or an ultimate purpose behind even the appearances that does not change, called the will of God, called God's creation, which is changeless and unalterable. It says the script is written. So it's like what? There's a script that comes with every appearance, and it's already written. In other words, when we come here, appearing as these body forms, as these individuated selves, with appearing within the dream. It said the script's already written. It says there is a plan behind these appearances. It says when experience will come to end our doubting. Notice now, what is the experience? The experience of the revelation of the Father and his creation are one. When the experience, notice what he says, when the experience will come to end your doubting has been set. So it's all fixed. It's all set. It would have to be that way. Otherwise, it could be what? It could be changed or it could be altered. So reality is a fixed existence. It's a lock. That's why when we don't understand the fix, the lock, we have experiences that are called nightmares, pain and suffering. For we but see the journey from the point at which it ended. For we but see this journey from the point from which it ended. The journey ended. Looking back on it, imagining we make it once again, reviewing mentally what has gone by. So it somewhat suggests that we live many, many, many lifetimes until at some point, the great reveal happens and all the doubting is over. There's no more need for the dream and it all goes away. It said a teacher does not give experience. Remember what we said. The experience is so unique. It cannot be taught. It cannot be given directly. It says, because he did not learn it. See, a teacher gives what he's learned. A teacher gives what he has been taught. But experiences cannot be given or taught. Experiences cannot be given directly or taught directly. He says, it revealed itself to him at its appointed time. What did? Experience. But vision, notice now, it says, but vision is his gift. Vision is the gift of a teacher. This he can give directly. A teacher gives vision. It says God has given us knowledge that's built into us. He said, but a teacher gives vision. Not experience, but vision. A lot of teachers like to share their experience. But it can't be shared directly. In other words, it can't be transmuted directly. It says, but vision is his gift, and he can give directly. For Christ's knowledge is not lost. The knowledge that we are mind and in the mind of God, that we are sinless forever and wholly unafraid, that we're created out of love, and that we are an idea of God. We are a thought of God. And that idea or that thought leaves not God. We leave not the source of the idea. He says, this is vision. This knowledge is vision. He says, this he can give directly, for Christ's knowledge is not lost, but he has a vision he can give to anyone who asks. To anyone who gets to the point to say there must be a better way. There must be a vision that I don't have. He said it can be given. The Father's will, now, notice now, the Father's or the Creator's will and his are joined in knowledge. The Creator's will and the Christ's vision can be joined in knowledge. It says, yet there is a vision which the Holy Spirit sees because the mind of Christ beholds it too. So this is just symbolic of the fact that the truth, which is true always, which include our identity, our oneness with God, is a perfect knowing of the mind of Christ, which represent the mind of God. So everybody is in the know. It's just the separated self that's not in the know. And so, here is the joining of the world of doubt and shadows made with the intangible. Here is a quiet place within the world made holy by forgiveness and by love. Here are all contradictions reconciled, for here the journey ends. Experience, which is unlearned, untaught, and unseen, is merely there. This is beyond our goal, for it transcends the need to be accomplished. So for the purposes of this course, our concern is with Christ's vision, not experience. This we can attain. So the concern and what is primarily shared here is what can be shared directly, and that is Christ's vision, which is God's vision, God's point of view, God's reference. And now it's going to go on to tell us what Christ's vision is. In other words, vision has to do with from what point of view are we perceiving? What point of view are we thinking? He says this can be shared. So God's perfect creation and its point of view can be shared. And this is what it says it is. It says Christ's vision. Notice now, not our vision, not our perception, but Christ's vision has one law. This is very important. Christ's vision has one law. It does not look upon a body. This is the law of Christ's vision. It does not look upon a body. And mistake the body for the Son whom God created. Christ's vision doesn't do that. It doesn't look upon a body. It doesn't see bodies. It doesn't confuse these bodies with what God made. God didn't make bodies. It said It beholds a light beyond the body. This is what Christ sees. This is the vision of Christ. It beholds a light beyond the body, and indeed beyond what can be touched. A purity undimmed by errors. This is Christ's vision. Pitiful mistakes. It looked beyond mistakes, beyond errors, beyond the body. It says, a purity undimmed by errors or pitiful mistakes and fearful thoughts of guilt from dreams of sin. It looked past that. It said, Christ's vision, behold a light that is beyond the body, beyond error, beyond mistakes, beyond what can be touched, beyond fearful thoughts of guilt from dreams of sin. Christ's vision looks beyond that, transcends that. This is what is in the world of separation. He says, it sees no separation. It sees no separation. It sees no separation. And it looks on everyone. It looks on every circumstance. Christ's vision looks on every happenings and all events without the slightest fading of the light it sees. It only sees the light. Christ's vision only sees with clarity. It only sees through the eyes of truth. It only sees the original that God created. This is Christ's vision. This can be what, and this is what can be shared. This what has been given to us. This is what can be received. This can be taught and must be taught by all who would achieve it. If you are to achieve the reality of what we just shared, it said it must be taught. You must teach it. And we're not talking about teaching like, traditional teaching. In other words, this is what we are to embrace. It says, it requires but the recognition. Notice now, this requires but the recognition that the world cannot give anything that faintly can compare with this in value. Nor can the world set up a goal that does not merely disappear when this has been perceived. In other words, when this is truly perceived, when this is truly received, all illusions are given up. Because the world, we realize that the world has nothing to offer. The false self has nothing to offer us of value. And this we give today. This is what we give as we have received it. This is what we give. See no one as a body. And I know that's hard to do. When we have all these daily encounters with what seeming other bodies, other selves. It says, see no one as a body. Why? You have received Christ's vision. Because Christ's vision looks beyond a body and only see the light beyond the body. It looks beyond the body, beholds a light beyond the body. What light? Light of reality. It sees the timeless and the formless self. It sees the timeless and the formless Christ that we all are. See no one as a body. However, greet everyone as the Son of God that he is, as the perfect creation of God, as he is, acknowledging that he is one with you in holiness, or wholeness and completeness. We acknowledge the holiness of all humanity when we greet them as God's perfect creation. It acknowledges our oneness and our holiness. When we recognize the divinity in another, that's what the word namaste means. The divinity in me recognizes what the divinity in you. And it not only recognizes it recognizes that it is one and the same, that we are one. It says, thus are his sins, a belief in sins, forgiven him. When we acknowledge this, when we look from this point of view, or Christ's vision, we are delivering our brothers, our sisters from sin consciousness, guilt, and fear. When we do that, thus are his sins forgiven him, for Christ has vision that has power to overlook them all. When we look past what we seemingly see as a body, when we look past that and see the light, or see the Christ in all his glory instead of the body, what we have done is look past sin, guilt, and fear, and released our brother from it, and released ourselves from it. This is Christ's vision. It says, in his forgiveness are they gone. In his forgiveness are they gone. For Christ has vision that has power to overlook them all. In his forgiveness are they gone. Unseen by one, they merely disappear. So in Christ's vision, all illusions disappear. All sin, guilt, and fear disappear. Because a vision of holiness that lies beyond them comes to take their place. It matters not what form they took, nor how enormous they appear to be in form, nor who seem to be hurt by them in form. They are no more. And all effects they seem to have are gone with them, undone and never to be done. Sin is remembered no more. The illusion of sin is embraced no more. It says, thus do you learn to give as you receive. And thus Christ's vision looks on you as well. This lesson is not difficult to learn if you remember in your brother and sister. You but see yourself. See, it goes back to what? There's only one being, one life that we share. We're not separate beings, but we are the one being. That is all inclusive, no exception. It's the God being. That is who and what we are. If he be lost, if our brother be lost to this reality, which is what separation is, which we call what? Sin. He said, if our brother be lost in this sin consciousness, this consciousness of separation, he says, so must you be. If we are affirming that in them, by seeing them as bodies. He said, if you see light in him, your sins have been forgiven by yourself. So Christ's vision is all about what? Seeing light only, seeing love only, seeing oneness only in everything and in everyone. And if we see anything other than that, we're not seeing through Christ's vision. We are seeing through the eyes of sin consciousness, guilt, and fear. He said, each brother whom you meet today, notice now, each brother whom you meet today, or each sister. We're not dealing with genders. We know what it means when it says brother. Each seemingly separated self that you meet today. Provides another chance to let Christ's vision shine on you and offer you the peace of God. By what? Seeing only the light in your brother and your sister. Only the light. Seeing only yourself. Seeing only God. It matters not when revelation comes. It's coming. It matters not when it comes. For that is not of time. That's not a determinant of time. That is an eternal transaction. That is beyond time. When it comes, it says, for that is not of time. Yet time has still one gift to give, in which true knowledge is reflected in a way so accurate, its image shares its unseen holiness. Its likeness shines with its immortal love. So we practice seeing with the eyes of Christ today. Time has been repurposed so that we see with what the Christ vision today with every encounter. And by the holy gifts that we give to what all humanity, all our brothers, all our neighbors, Christ's vision looks upon ourselves as well. So that which we give, we have learned to give it as we have received it, through Christ's vision, through the truth that is true always. So we no longer have our own what? Our own agenda. We no longer what? Have our own plan. It's only the plan of God that will prevail. It's only the plan of God that is our reality. And this is what we've learned through Christ's vision. This is what we've learned through the knowledge. This becomes our foundation. And as we go through our day, and every moment, and every encounter with every brother and sister, we go through that encounter, looking past the false appearance of a body, and we only see the light that is far beyond. And this light is the shared light. It's the one light that we all share, that contains the very life that we share. And so today we have learned to give this as we have received this. This is what we give to all humanity, regardless of what it might look like in its appearance, regardless of the form, regardless of the story, the circumstance, the situation, or condition. This is what we give. We teach only love. We give only love, because love is what we are. That's saying it in another way. And so that's the conclusion of Workbook Lesson 158. We have learned what Christ's vision is. We have learned what Christ's vision is, what Christ's consciousness is. This is the way now that this is the way that we perceive. This is the way that we think. It's the way of truth. It's the way of peace. It's the plan of God. It's the knowledge of God. And grace and peace is being multiplied to us through this knowledge. Thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to the next session, where we'll be on Workbook Lesson 159. Peace and blessings.